When should you start preparing for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, BFCM? Well, you should have started before the summer. And if you haven't, you're too late. I hate to break it to you, you're really too late. There, I've said it, but there is good news here. There is still things that you can do. Let's do that. I'm here to help, not to scold you. There is still a ton of smart, quick experiments you can run to learn. So we're going to do that. And we'll also talk about the biggest mistakes that teams make, about how they forget the basics of experimentation and growth. And of course, you'll walk away with some super practical ideas from this session that you can immediately implement. So that's great. Let's dive in. We might be too late, but we're never too late to try. We're still gonna try. The first decision is really BFCM or not. Let's start here. Should you really even do Black Friday? Camp A says go all in, heavy discounts, volume, focus on Black Friday, urgency, conversions, try as much as possible. And then you have Camp B that opts out and wants to stay true to their positioning. Maybe they're a luxury brand, maybe they're all about sustainable or craftsmanship. Now, for those brands, Black Friday doesn't really match. Since you're watching this video, I think you're Camp A that wants to Black Friday, that wants to go all in. So here's another real question. Do you really understand how user behavior changes during Black Friday and during this season at all? There are for sure 4 big shifts that you need to keep in mind. First of all is people hold out to buy in the weeks before. Shoppers really delay their purchases, especially more expensive ones, and they're waiting for the discounts to drop. Me, I've screenshot the products I want and I come back during Black Friday. So those kind of. Second one, scarcity and urgency sensitivity skyrocket. People are primed for speed and action and they're not browsing. They're really like hunting and fast. What also happens as a consequence is that brand loyalty drops. So everyone is deal hopping and your competitor's discount is literally just one click away. And what happens because of that? We're hunting, they're fast, and decisions happen faster. So the normal research cycle that a visitor might have shrinks, and if your size, your UX slows them down, you will lose them. Okay, in short, user behavior in this period is very different. And here's the rule. Any A/B test that wins during Black Friday, you should retest it later, because what works now might totally fail in January. Now that we know how users behave, let's talk about what you can still do right now to experiment fast. Number 1 is facilitating that holdout behavior. So use waitlists, email reminders, browser notifications if you have them, to build anticipation. Think messages like beforehand, stay tuned, 70% off coming tomorrow or during Black Friday. And then after that, you send a message whenever the discount has dropped saying, hey, it's here, savings store-wide today. And also when it ends, you say, hey, last chance, sale ends midnight. And also what can work are abandoned cart message. Try something like Black Friday is only 5 hours long. Are you sure you want to leave your cart unattended, and send that as a need. Number 2 is scarcity and urgency sensitivity. It's higher, so we want to use that. The first thing people think about are usually countdowns. Okay, they can be great, but also think a little bit broader next to general countdowns of Black Friday. Think about shipping deadlines or true stock indicators. So shipping deadlines might be order now before 10 p.m. on Friday to get it before Christmas, and stock indicators are something like 5 items left. And yes, what also can work is testing short cart timers. So you can hold a product in your cart for 15 minutes or temporary item holds like those. It works wonders for urgency sensitive shoppers. And if you can, on top of all of this, measure churn, because that people buy doesn't mean that they don't return their items. So ideally, you can tie that back to your A/B test and to your variant, although for sure it's a delayed metric of 2 weeks and counting maybe. Okay, another tactic is leveraging discounts and pricing and focusing a little bit more on that. Option 1 is just generally making discounts bigger, visually more appealing, more striking, because like we said, people are like hunting. Also think about if you want to communicate something like save $100 instead of save 10%. The save $100 usually looks visually bigger, and then people feel like it's more, because in fact it might be actually the same. Another tactic is repeating or highlighting the amount of saved discounts in cart. So say like, hey, you saved $5 dollar with this. Remember, for all of this, what works for low ticket items might backfire for high ticket ones, so you need to always test, and it might only work during Black Friday. Okay, number 4. We also talked about lower brand loyalty and that users are deal hopping, visiting your competitors, etc. Now, if visitors are deal hopping, your USPs really need to shine bright right now. And if you're not sure at this point what your strongest selling points are, run a quick survey. Send out a survey to your customers last 3 months, send out an email, Google form, it's for free, and ask them why they chose you over other brands. Those insights are marvelous for your copy. While you're at it, also ask them like, hey, did you have any fears or concerns? Now, we also talked about that there are faster decisions and people that buy quicker. And what else can we do to boost that? Now, reviews are a great e-commerce booster of sales. Can you leverage them more this season? Or can you test something new with it? Another idea might be, can you create more trust by showing customer service information better? We as a team actually optimize a lot with displaying customer service. Brands are often scared like, oh, we're going to get too many emails, too many calls, but in fact, that's not the case at all. Sometimes it is, but then it's still worth it, the whole business case. But most of the time, just showing that you have a customer service and that you have a phone number, what it does is it creates so much trust that conversion immediately goes up without people even calling. What you also might want to try is highlighting free returns or just generally how the return process works to create this feeling of safety for your shoppers. While you're doing that, and again, we're talking about returns, can you also optimize for post-purchase? Can you also optimize for post-purchase regrets? Do you measure returns at all? Is it possible? Because if you boost conversions but you spike returns, you don't have a real win. You can also run a survey or check your customer service if you get more complaints. Now, those are things that you can all still do. Now, let's talk about what not to do, because this is also a period where a lot of teams just mess up. So, crossing the line. Black Friday is really the moment where CRO teams, marketing teams, product teams go too far. Don't over prioritize conversion at the expense of everything. Trust your brand. Don't do any fake things, fake scarcity, dark patterns, hidden fees. Don't do it. That's the biggest mistake. I know there's a lot of pressure. I know you want to hit your targets, but just make sure to keep aware, and there are tests that you can do with yourself, your team, to keep yourself in check. But number 1 is the mom test. So ask yourself if your mother or any other loved one would approve of what you're doing. If you feel ashamed or bad, don't do it. Another test is the front page test. How would you feel if what you're doing today on your little laptop with your team showed up tomorrow really big on the front pages of the national newspaper? If you wouldn't like this to show up in the news, don't do it. Third test you can do to test yourself or to test the user in this case is the regret test. So try to measure if a user feels regret after taking an action like making a purchase. It could indicate that the action was manipulative rather than a nudge toward a genuinely desired choice. It's hard to measure though, so you could do a survey or look at churn or talk to your customer service. Now, we talked about the ethical things, what not to do, but also strategically, large redesigns. This is not the time for big bang changes. Stick to smaller targeted experiments and you won't get clean learning from a full site redesign in this very small period with extreme behavioral change. You just won't get all the learning for the website and the redesign that you want to do. So probably that's not a good choice. Also, treating Black Friday wins as evergreen, don't do it. Remember the golden rule. A win in November is a Black Friday win and it's not an evergreen one for the rest of the year. We had a client, a fashion brand, that saw 15% conversion lift from an aggressive urgency banner during Black Friday. When we ran the same test in January, it actually hurt conversions because shoppers felt too pressured and that it was too aggressive, probably for no reason. Now, let's take a step back. Let's talk about your experimentation program systems. Those quick wins are nice, but they are not our bread and butter. We are in a journey of optimizing our online products. The truth is you want systems to rely on, you want to make all of this optimization sustainable. Now, remember the tools and the systems we're usually working with, and can you use those to your advantage at this period in time? So think about research. Can you do user interviews? Can you do surveys during this period just to learn about the behavior during this period? Can you look at session recordings? Do you have time every day to look and analyze session recordings? and maybe see the difference between normal behavior. Okay, another thing we always focus on in experimentation is planning. Can you look at the data and really know how much tests you can run and what's the most beneficial planning for your experimentation program? Can you shorten the runtime of any experiment? Then the last is prioritization. You really want to sit down, prioritize, because you want to run the tests that have potentially the most impact. Now, your work doesn't end on Cyber Monday. So after Black Friday, what do you win? Black Friday, Cyber Monday, what do? You're going to retest all the winners in January, because that seasonal bias is real. Also, what you want to do is you want to create like a big document with all information, all learnings, all analysis about this Black Friday season, and you will save it somewhere for next year, because next year you are going to start sooner and you want to learn about those highest intent shoppers. Like I said, we usually start preparing for our clients for a BFCM during or before the summer, and we worked with a ton of brands, big brands, but also we helped a lot of Shopify stores, so brands that rely more on discounts. Now, they all have their own tactics, they all have their own strategy, and for next year you can prepare all of that. If you're starting today with your Black Friday strategy, you're too late, but a good experimentation and optimization program runs all year. So just, start and keep on learning. I hope this really gave you some inspiration on what you can do and also what you shouldn't do. Now over to you and good luck.